Is Jacory Croskey-Merritt, aka Bill, the biggest steal of the 2025 NFL Draft? While there were a ton of very hyped running backs in the 2025 NFL Draft, including first-rounders like Ashton, Jeanty, and Omarion Hampton, Luke, you argue on athlonsports.com that Commanders running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt, selected at 245th overall, looks like the steal of the draft. Why is that?
I mean, 26 running backs were taken in this draft. It was one of the deepest running back classes I've ever seen. Again, you had those first round guys. You had both the Ohio State guys who were also top 40 picks. Caleb Johnson was a day two guy. And so many, I loved so many of those backs, man. Jacory Croskey-Merritt was the last one. He was the last running back drafted in this draft. Barely made it barely made the cut in the 7th round there. And he's just such a curious case because he spent 4 years at Alabama State or Alabama A&M. I can't remember, one of those smaller schools. And then he goes to New Mexico and has a great year there, breakout year, 17 touchdowns, 1,100 yards, almost 1,200 yards. Transfers to Arizona, but then there's some weird like eligibility thing that goes wrong. He plays one game at Arizona, and then he's ruled ineligible for the rest of the 2024 season. So he falls off the map completely in terms of the draft stock. He doesn't get that entire season. He goes into the draft. He's the last running back selected. He goes into training camp, and everybody in Washington's like, dang, this guy's a dude. Like he's got some skills. So he was so impressive throughout training camp in the preseason that they traded Brian Robinson Jr. away, their starter from the year before. They send him to San Francisco, and so they've got Bill Croskey-Merritt. They've got Austin Eckler as like the veteran to kind of stabilize things, and they've got Chris Rodriguez. They've got Jeremy McNichols, a couple other guys. But Eckler was kind of supposed to kind of be the veteran stabilizing guy. Then he tears his Achilles, and now you've got Croskey-Merritt, again, the last running back drafted out of 26 running backs. And all this dude has done, I think week 1, he had like 11 carries for 80-something yards and a touchdown. You know, had a few moments in the weeks prior to week 5. But, man, what he did on Sunday against the Chargers, again, a tough Jesse Minter defense, 3-1 team in the Chargers. This dude, I'm going to bring up the numbers so I don't get him wrong, 150 total yards on 28 snaps, Doug. 28 snaps. He touched the ball 16 times and made 150 yards, found the end zone twice, 5.4 yards per snap on Sunday in this game.
Not per carry, per snap.
Yeah, per snap played. So, I mean, again, he's a guy that just fell through the cracks, and it wasn't because he was injured. It wasn't because of off-field stuff. There's no character issues, nothing like that. It was just a weird thing where eligibility issues. He didn't get enough film that year, and he just fell through the cracks. I mean, Doug, I'll kick it to you on the schematic part of it, but the skill set that this guy brings, we saw it on Sunday. It wasn't just rushing the ball, which he did great. It wasn't just catching the ball and creating yards after contact, yards after the catch, and finding the end zone. This dude does it all well, and he fits so well with how they've kind of changed the way that running game works under Kliff Kingsbury that I don't know how you don't look at a guy who was the last running back taken, who barely got drafted at all. Look at what he's done through the first 5 weeks of the season, how big of a part he's become of that offense for a contending team. This is a team that was in the NFC title game last year. How is that not the best value pick that we've seen in this draft so far?
This is a really good case of persistence on the Commanders' part and scheme fit on Croskey-Merritt's part. It was Alabama State from 19 to 22, then New Mexico 2023, and then a discrepancy as to whether he redshirted the right number of games led to I love the NCAA. Oh, wait, no, I don't. It's a ridiculous organization. So if you watch his New Mexico tape, you saw this sort of pistol pony backfield action, which is the primary construct of the Commanders' run game back in 2024 under Jayden Daniels and Kliff Kingsbury. So that part of it was there. Assistant General Manager Lance Newmark had been on Croskey-Merritt for like 3 years. He mentioned this right after the draft. Like, we don't care, we want this guy. So they get him, and it's really interesting because 6 offensive linemen is not something Kliff Kingsbury is known for. He's known for spread them out and do all that, and he kind of got rid of that years ago. The Commanders are a 2 tight end team with Zach Ertz and John Bates. But so Jayden Daniels is out week 3 and 4. Bates, who Zach Ertz told me this offseason is the best blocking tight end he's ever worked with, was also out. So what does Kliff do? He takes Trent Scott, a journeyman tackle, and no 6OL snaps in weeks 1 and 2. They had the most weeks 3 and 4, 27. So I'm wondering, okay, when Daniels comes back and Bates comes back, both of them did against the Chargers, what is he going to do? 7 of Croskey-Merritt's runs against the Chargers were 6-0L. So now you have Bates and Trent Scott on the same side, blocking the hell out of people, and Bill's like, I'll just run there. So not only has he become kind of a force multiplier, but it really is a case of the right kind of scouting for the player. Like, hey, not only can he fit all the weird backfield motion action stuff we like to do, the Packers would have been another team, the Lions would have been another team, but if we want to run all this kind of weird 6-0L stuff that we didn't do last year, maybe he can fit that too, and he's fit like a glove. So in this case, steal, I wouldn't call him a steal. I would call him a calculated hit, where the Commanders did the right thing. They really dug into who this guy is, what he can do on the field, how great a fit it is that he can do this for us. Steal, to me, implies more like, well, we got a guy, we got him in here, and it just sort of worked. The Commanders were on him because he could fit what they do. That to me is different.
Luke, would you put him on the same level as guys like Jeanty and Hampton right now?
I mean, I wouldn't in terms of like just natural talent. I think those two guys are more naturally gifted. Do I think he's doing more with less? Absolutely. That's the way I would define the steal, Doug. I think is just where was his relative draft slot to the impact he's having, regardless of the team aspect of it. I think when you look at a guy who, again, was barely drafted and was the last running back of 26 selected, looking at what you had to invest in him versus the return that you're getting, I think in any team would, again, this is why the teams that tell you and the people that tell you you don't have to spend a top 6 pick on Ashton Jeanty, you don't have to spend a first round pick on Omarion Hampton because you can just get a guy later. You know, I've been very adamant that if you want special running backs, you do have to take them early. History has told us that all day long. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, both top 12 picks. Christian McCaffrey, top 10 picks. Saquon Barkley, second overall pick. At worst, Derrick Henry was a high second rounder because a lot of teams just didn't know what to do with him. Usually those special running backs have to go off the board early, and I think Jeanty is one of those. I think Hampton's not quite at his level, but he was worthy of a first-round pick. Croskey-Merritt is, again, just one of those guys who his impact is multiplied by the fit. The fit is so good that it takes his skill set, which, again, I do think he's talented, but it's maximized because of the people around him. I think the first-round guys, they take less to get to that point. They need less help. Croskey-Merritt is just in the perfect position. There's nothing to take away from him, but you can't argue that the impact he's having is similar, and that's why, again, football is just the best team game in the world for a reason, because it takes 11 guys doing very unique individual roles and maximizing it and doing it together as a team and taking a coaching staff to put everybody in position to do those things. That's why we love the game so much, but you can't argue that he's having a similar impact for sure.